Today we're going to make an absolute delight of a pan sauce, a mushroom sauce actually. And we only need a few ingredients, and then I'm going to show you a few tricks how to make this a level better than you normally get. Half a kilo of black button mushrooms, some Parmesan cheese, some garlic. One of the tricks, homemade beef stock, talk about that later. Heavy cream and some spices, so that's basically it. It's quick, but it's super delicious. We have only a little bit of prep work. The mushrooms, I've cleaned them and taken off the stems, and now all we want to do is just slice them into, I would say, how thick is that? Half a centimeter? Something
about,
like that.
Yeah. Anyway, they will shrink.
Exactly. Don't make them too thin, because then they will just disappear. Then we're going to grate some Parmesan. Don't bother using a microplaner here because we're going to melt it in the sauce anyway. So make it relatively thick so it's easy and fast. Important to make it easy for yourself. Now this is about done. And one thing here, the rinds, never throw them away, never discard of these because they are so good when you're making stews, Tuscan chicken, whatever. We put it in basically everything. And it's chili. It's excellent to give extra flavor to chilies. So save that. The bench scraper is our friend here. The rest happens at the stove. Big burner, low flame, big pan. Straight on with that. And here comes one of the tricks. If you do a pan sauce, many times you would sear a steak and then use the fond to build your sauce on. But this sauce is so good you can make it even for pasta. So since we're not searing any steak, we're going to use some of our aromatized beef tallow that we skimmed off the top when we made beef stock. There's a link down below how to do this. This is amazing for sauces like this. Give it a couple of ladles of this, but this will add a lot of flavor to our sauce. So it's a very good trick, so keep that in mind. Let's this get warm a little bit. In with our mushrooms. And now we're going to let them sweat out here until they release all their water and they reduce. But we won't cook them too far because they will also cook a bit in the sauce afterwards. I'll show you when we get to that point. But let them sweat a little bit here for the next 10-12 minutes. And when the mushrooms, they have shrunken a bit, but when you press them, they still have a little bit of give to them. They are still a little bit hard. You don't want to take
Al dente.
them exactly because we will want to reduce the sauce, so they will cook further in the sauce. But before we add anything else, I'm going to go in with a clove of garlic. Oh, that's a big one. Wow.
It can manage.
Yeah. Okay. Then we only need one because that was ginormous. So let's get that fragrant a little bit here.
The aroma is fantastic.
Oh, it smells so good. I mean, that beef tallow there, it's above and beyond. It's when we get a good sniff of the garlic here. Now you smell it. Then we go in with 250 milliliter, 1 cup of dry white wine. You could use vermouth if you wanted, which is basically just a fortified white wine, which is shelf stable. White wine is not. But I prefer dry white wine. Now we let the alcohol here cook off a bit before we add the rest of our ingredients. And when this has reduced a bit and we actually get a sauce trail like this, look.
Yeah,
we
that's
get a bit of
visible.
reduction, exactly. Then we go in with half a liter of our beef stock, as mentioned before, linked down below, but this is concentrated goodness. So that's gonna give a lot of flavor to our sauce. And at the same time, I'm gonna add some dry thyme. I actually forgot to buy fresh, otherwise, so if you have fresh, use fresh, but in this case it's gonna be dry, so a couple of good pinches here. But I put that now because you want that to cook a little bit to release the flavors. If it was fresh, I would put it a little bit later in the cooking process. Now this needs to come back to a simmer, and then we carry on. And this is all nice and bubbling away. Then we go in with half a liter of heavy cream. If you want to go lighter, you can do that, but heavy cream does give it that extra richness, you know. So I prefer heavy cream. And look how beautiful that is. Then I would say a good healthy pinch of freshly cracked black pepper. Again, I do this in a spice grinder, so it's easier, much faster. Like that. Basically, we want to let this reduce a little bit before we add the Parmesan. We're not going to add salt yet because the Parmesan is salty, so we will taste for the right saltiness at the end of this. But First we need it to reduce a bit before we add in our Parmesan cheese. And well, this is bubbling away merrily here, and it smells absolutely divine. Probably last ingredient, we might need some salt, but Parmesan cheese into the sauce and let that melt. That will thicken up a little bit now, and then we let it go on until we have the right consistency for the sauce. You don't want it too thick. I'll show you exactly what we're looking for here. But let that simmer for probably 5-6 minutes more, then I'm sure we have the thickness and the consistency we're looking for. There we are, nice and thickened up, and you can see we get a nice sauce trail here when we pull our spatula, and that's the exact thickness. That's perfect. Now let me give it a taste for spices, salt especially. It needs a pinch of salt.
Is it good?
And then I will be back with you. Good, that's an understatement. And let's give this a try. I want the mushroom also. I want to taste this properly. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I shit you not. This is absolutely incredible. You can serve this over any steak. You can serve it over chicken. I mean, you can even make it into pasta sauce. Just serve it over your favorite pasta or put in some pasta with some pasta water. This is magnificent. It just doesn't get better.